there in TV land. I'm John Weeks, and this is On the Scales, weighing in with model railroaders. Today we're at Chuck Brasher's house. He's got tinplate railroads, and you say, tinplate? What's that? Well, that was things that people put pennies in during the Depression for people that were begging on the streets, but also in the late 1800s, when toy trains first came about, they used tin because it was easily malleable and withstood the rough play that children did. Now, after the turn of the century, that is the turn of the 19th century to the 20th century, tin plate was used to make toy trains, and they were electrified. Chuck Brasher has tin plate electrified trains, kind of like what I remember when I was a kid, and we're going to find out what it's all about. So here we go. Hi, Chuck.
Yes.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm John. I'm with the film crew.
Yep, we're ready.
Okay. Here we are, folks. We got Chuck here, and up there in his garage, he's got a layout that's going to pop your eyes out. And my name is John Weeks, and this is On the Scales, weighing in with model railroaders. Come on in.
Now, come on, John, follow me up the stairs.
Okay.
You'll probably like this.
I'm sure I will. I see a lot of pictures on the wall here. That's pretty cool.
Those are all set box top pictures.
Yeah. Oh my God. This is amazing. This is like childhood stuff here, kids. And what I mean is adult kids, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to the world of tin plate railroading. And Chuck and I are going to discuss some of that in short order. So sit down, enjoy, and we'll be right back. Well, folks, here we are. We're upstairs in Chuck's house, and as you can see, this is trains old school. Tell us a little bit about how you got started with this, Chuck.
My wife and I were in Alaska, broke, ready to come home, and we had my old train that needed repair. Then she dug it up from my parents' house, and we got it repaired, and that started me collecting. That's how I got started.
Short and sweet, folks. A man, a few words.
Yeah, it worked out good. That was 55 years ago.
These were trains that our parents and grandparents grew up with back in the day when trains were called toy trains.
That's what they are. Yeah.
The modern things that we've been filming are called model trains, and they're more realistic to the real thing in scale. This is the way trains first started, as quote-unquote toys. However, what you see is what was up-to-date technology when they were built. Everybody had one of these trains that ran under the Christmas tree. Macy's in New York in Christmas time had a huge window display with trains like this running, and kids would put fingerprints and nose prints on the windows looking through and all of that. It's really big, Gordon. I don't know where to start. Let's talk about the control panel here. It's all old school. It's all...
Yeah, these are approximately 1938 transformers. The reason I use these, they go from 0 to 25 volts because some of these trains are heavy and they take a lot to get going, but after they're going, you go down to maybe 8 volts, 10 volts to run them.
Okay, so you have to actually stand here and control the voltage as the train goes around to make sure it doesn't
run
go
them
too fast or too slow.
Yeah, at a nice even pace, but when you get on a curve or through an S curve, they take a little more power, and then you got to cut it back down. And then there's ramps. There's a right to your right there. There's a 2.5% ramp, and then over on the other side is a 3% grade. So you got to watch those.
Oh, over there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 2 levels here, and actually some of the levels, like behind us over there, which you'll see later, and behind us
That goes right.
Back there
that
are
goes
some
around
tracks
this level all the way around.
that are all by
and
themselves.
it's back down on the main table level on the far end in front
Okay.
in front of us.
And there's even monorail trains. He's got 2 monorail trains. There's an airplane. He's got a racetrack. What else is here? It's just too cool to tell. There's so much. It's better to watch and look than to talk.
Yeah.
Almost.
None of the accessories from this era, from the
It's a lot of
20s and
stuff.
30s, do anything. They
So-
just sit there with a light on. This was when they first started lights in the trains in the
Mhm.
early 20s.
Mhm.
No automatic uncoupling. You do it with your fingers.
Yeah.
And the reverses, not even all of them have reverses, and then they don't work that well.
Yeah.
I like to run my
So to
train
reverse it, you'd have
one
to-
way, and that way I don't worry about
To
the
reverse,
reversing.
you'd have to turn the transformer down and then back up.
Completely off and back on. Some of them had
Yeah.
2-position reverse units. It would be forward and reverse. So when you turn it, the train's all of a sudden going forward under its weight movement,
Uh-huh.
and it's trying to back up. Then they went to 3-position, where each time it would go to neutral position between the forward and backward. They got them improved, but I still don't use reverses except in just 2 trains I have. I put electronic reverse units in them.
Now, are there any manufacturers that still make this kind of train? Replicas?
Well, yeah, replicas. These they quit making what I have in this room about 1938. Actually,
Okay.
right before the Second World War. That's what kind of killed that.
Uh-huh.
And then after the war, Lionel and American Flyer kept going and making their American Flyer made S gauge 2-rail track, and Lionel made O gauge 3-rail track, and now they Lionel owns American Flyer, and they're making S gauge and O gauge 2-rail and 3-rail, and these trains are being reproduced by Mike's Train House and a couple other companies in China. And I don't have any of that because I don't like Chinese trains.
Everything's made in China.
Well,
nowadays.
things that are put together with straight slot screws here, you look at the stuff from China and they got little Phillips screws. That doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Not from when it was made originally in 1925 or something.
Yeah.
They didn't even know what those were then. But anyway, there is a lot of reproductions made. They're selling for, I don't know, half or less than what the originals sell for, or even less than that. They're hard to sell.
Do you still actively search for
Oh
originals?
yeah, oh yeah.
And
I'm
how do
always looking.
How do you do that?
I've never bought or sold anything on eBay. I don't do that.
Okay.
This stuff I like to look at in person, hold it in my hand, see what's wrong and what's not wrong, and that's the same way I sell. I go to the train shows, or people come to my house and they say, there it is, you pick it up and look at it, and I'll run it for you, and things like that. And people ask me to bring things. I go to train meets all over the United States, and they ask me to bring things to them, and we sell that way.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I go about 25 train shows a year. Some take me a couple weeks to go to when I drive back east, and some are 2-hour shows, small ones like down in Elk Grove. There's one we go to once a month, 2 hours. But it's worth it to me.
Yeah.
And assembled them here. The reason Lionel did that is they could get it made cheaper during the Depression over in Italy. They had the same problem we did in this country, only even worse. But anyhow, that's about. This is standard gauge trains. John's holding the largest passenger cars that Lionel made. They were made in 1929 up to about 1934. This is the standard gauge steam engine that American Flyer made probably about 1931. Now, most people are familiar with O gauge, which is on the top shelf up behind here.
Way up there, folks.
Right at the very top, that's O gauge, approximately half the size of standard gauge.
So everything else you have on the layout is all standard gauge.
Yes.
And so, unlike today, where O gauge is the big scale, O gauge was actually the smaller scale back in the day when these were prevalent in toy train
Yes.
days.
That's right.
So now, tin plate, electric trains started back in, say, the turn of the 19th century to the 20th century, and tin plate is called tin plate because basically a lot of the cars were made out of tin. And they were toys. They look like what you see here. In the beginnings, they were real primitive. At any rate, we got standard gauge, we got O gauge. O gauge is smaller. You'll see a film clip of that. And this is the really big stuff. And we run the trains fast because that's the way toy trains were run in those days. This car here actually has a surprise that we'll show you in a little bit. And these things are really heavy, folks. This locomotive weighs, God, I don't know.
Probably 20 pounds for
That's a
little
lot.
kids to play with.
So that's why they can go fast, because they're so heavy. It takes a lot to get them off the rails. And they're so heavy that even if the wheels come off the rails, they still run anyway. So that's what we're going to do for now, and we'll see more. So, Chuck, you said there was a surprise about this car. I believe I referred to that earlier. And as you can see, the roof tilts up, and there's an interior in here. It's got seats and compartments and all that stuff.
And bathrooms,
So,
and doors.
And it's lighted so that you can see it in the dark, too. And we're going to move it forward to the camera so that you can see what's going on inside. Even though these are toy trains, there's still a level of realism to them. And here we go. And we're going to tilt it like this.
Good.
And there's another surprise in here. It does have a bathroom, and lo and behold, I'm going to tilt it back here, and down in the bathroom, we couldn't figure out where the conductor for the train was, but then we opened the roof, and in the toilet was Mr. Conductor with his pants down, doing what conductors do best. So, toy train or not, there's still fun to be had. Quiet on the set.
This is what my grandkids and the rest of the kids love, because it's a lever, on and off. They can't hurt it. It just flies around and then it lands, and that's it.
Uh-huh. So here, folks, we have the old school aerodrome, and Chuck, give it a whirl,
Okay.
as we would say.
The motor on this is down in the tower, and it's like a speedometer table off a car. Goes over and turns its propeller. Now all it'll do is go around, land, and take off. This particular lever here is supposed to make it reverse. It will go around and get upside down, but it won't go the rest of the way. And none of them will. It was just a flaw in the engineering.
Nothing worse than being in an airplane trying to make a loop and only get halfway.
And you could only land upside down. But they never, that's why they only made it 3 years. It just wasn't successful.
And I don't know if you can see it from the camera view there, but on the tabletop there around the circle are different city names. So it's kind of a skill game too, to see if you can get the plane to land in the city you want it to.
We could all bet 4 people in the room where it's going to land, and it won't land there, and you could say, well, I'll bet on that one next time. Never lands the same place twice.
Today we landed in Cleveland.
So I can get it going full blast like this, and then shut it off, and it'll land where it's going to land. That's all there is to it.
Round and round she goes. Where she lands, nobody knows.
That's right.
And it looks like New York. We're in New York, folks. Cleveland to New York in just 6 revolutions.
There you go.
Tell us a little bit about what's on the wall back there.
Well, the shelves, the bottom shelf is a line L, about the last they made in standard gauge, 1938.
Okay.
The whole train all the way across. The next shelf up from the bottom is Ives passenger train, and then 2 line L engines. Then the 2 shelves, the top one and the one below the top, that's all American Flyer standard gauge. The one at the very top is they're probably almost their earliest American flyer. It's probably 1927 or something like that.
Okay, and.
And this,
is a
by the way,
Vicino.
this Ives train, the blue one right here, a fellow called me up from Alta Sierra, about a mile from where I live, and said, I have a train I want to sell. So I went over and looked. And that, to find something like that that's been around 80 years, right next door to your house almost, is very unusual.
How does that locomotive's got a pretty short wheelbase there.
Yeah, they tend to want to, because of the length from the axle to the coupler, they tend to want to wobble like that when they're going down the track. But you can pull the wheels out on the axle a little bit with a wheel puller, make it run straight, but then it'll bind on the curves.
Yeah.
So that it just wasn't made, exactly right. Let's put it that way.
So that locomotive is kind of a version of the Tunerville trolley.
Yeah. I know exactly what
A cartoon that not many people remember.
I just read the book.
Oh,
on that.
really?
Yeah, a hardbound book that thick on two guys put out all the Tunerville trolley cartoons. I sold it at a train meet. I mean, I read the whole book.
And we
Like
have
this, there's something kind of interesting. See that tunnel in the corner? How it's all wrinkly?
yes.
It's metal, light steel, that they just kind of bend and crinkle into that shape and paint it and put the little houses on it.
Interesting.
It's about 1930 from Lionel.
Okay. Over here, folks, we have a monorail that does a figure eight.
Yeah, that's a factory figure eight. They made them, sold them with just a little circle, then they sold an oval, and then the factory figure eight, the posts that hold it up have a number stamped in the top of each one, tells you, as if you don't know, to go in order. But there's very few of those around, the figure eight. That's a Leland, Detroit monorail made in Detroit about 1931. I guess the Chicago World's Fair had a monorail. I don't know for sure, but I was told that, and that's what it was made for that reason. All right. I can tell you what some of these things are. There's Ives, American Flyer, Lionel, all in this area right here.
Okay.
That's the three major manufacturers of standard gauge in the United States. Ives went out in the Depression, and American Flyer and Lionel took over. They were concerned the government was going to slap a, what do they call it, on Lionel, when you're in, there's no other competition. There's the name they call.
Yeah.
I can't think what it's called, but anyway, they didn't because of the war effort.
Monopoly.
Yeah, they were going to call Lionel a monopoly because they bought all the competition. But they went broke in the Depression.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
Yeah, go ahead.
what we're going to do now is we're going to take a little trip to the other end of this layout and do a little more talking down there. So here we go to the other end. Here we are at the other end, and over here we have a roundhouse. And Chuck, give us a little idea of where this roundhouse came from. And
Okay. They sold this, Lionel sold this, it's made 1932-34 by the section. And they show in the catalog a 4-section, but you could get all the way around. You could put 8 sections and not run a train in it. But anyway, it's 4 sections look nice, or 5. But they're very hard to get because of the size, naturally. They take a lot of room. That's over 5 feet across. But it was made, all the parts were made in Italy, shipped over here. Every piece, like right in the top of this piece, and every piece in it is stamped made in Italy. And they painted them and assembled them here. The reason Lionel did that is they could get it made cheaper during the Depression over in Italy. They had the same problem we did in this country, only even worse.
yeah.
But anyhow, that's about the only thing that they made in Italy. They made some die-cast pieces, but this all stamped out of tin.
And of course, Every roundhouse has to have a turntable, and we have a turntable there. Tracks do go
But
into
look
the
how
roundhouse.
short it is.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
definitely a
about the
shorty.
smallest standard gauge locomotive and tender, and all you can get's a locomotive. You could never get a tender on there
Yeah.
with it. But that's what they made.
Well, they had problems like that in real life railroading too.
Yeah, when they got the big,
And,
big locomotives.
Southern Pacific and Sacramento had to increase the size of their turntable
Yeah.
3 times before
And you
they
want
ran
to,
out of steam. I wanted the turntable there. How do you control that?
it's just a hand turn right here.
Oh,
See,
okay.
that'll turn just like that.
It's a strong arm turntable, folks.
Yeah,
Of sorts. What we mean by strong arm turntable is that you got 2 guys with strong arms to push the turntable to cause
actually,
to
I think
turn.
when trains got on them, they were pretty well balanced. They,
Yeah.
the real ones would push easy.
Yeah.
I've seen automobile turntables from the 20s and 30s in these large estate garages that you could push with one hand. The missus could push her limousine around and turn it around.
A quick getaway.
We didn't talk about it, but when in the Depression, when American Flyer and Lionel kind of were going out of business, Lionel had enough money to buy Ives and out, and American Flyer helped them at that time. And all these trains on this wall are all combination American Flyer and Ives and Lionel pieces put together so that they could stay. And then finally ended up just Lionel, but they're all quite rare and hard to get, all the pieces up there. And there's other, they call them transition pieces, from Lionel to American Flyer and Ives. And all, like the train that the camera's aimed at right now is an Ives 1929 circus set. It came with the engine, the tender, the 3 cars, and then the flat cars in the front row with the little white wagons and some red wagons that you can't see in this picture, but that is the entire train. And then the cardboard backdrops and the tent and some of the animals are original to that set. That's it.
Here we are standing on top of a train. Now, back in the old days, when there were no air brakes, the brakemen had to ride the tops of the trains when they were moving so they could set brakes on each car individually. We're going to give you a ride and see what it's like so you can see what it was like when they were on tops of the trains. I'm going to warn you, it's going to be bouncy, and the only good thing is there won't be any rain or snow. So hang on, try not to fall off, and have a good time. Now, I'm going to get out of the way of the camera so you can have a good roll by. See you soon. Chuck, that's a mighty impressive layout you've got up there.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you very much for allowing us to come in and film and interview you and have fun
Come
playing
back
with the trains.
anytime. Send anybody up here in this area that's interested in train, send them over.
Okay, we can do that.
I mean, it's no good if people don't see them.
Yeah.
That's true. These people that hide their layouts out don't let people see them. I don't do that.
Hear that, folks? We're gonna put Chuck's number on there so you can call
Oh,
him anytime.
I guarantee you, my daughter's checked. It's all over the internet already. Address, the
Okay.
phone number, everything.
He's got it covered.
Oh yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. With the internet nowadays, you're stuck.
Yeah. So there we go. We got tin plate railroading back there, good old days. And that's it for now for On the Scales, weighing in with model railroaders. We will come back at you with another episode soon. So for right now, ta-ta for now.